Hello and welcome to Money Markets and More with me, Dominic Frisby, and today's piece is called How to Lose Weight. I'm not an expert, but I have some lived experience. Over the last year I've lost 2 stone, 14 kilos or 30 pounds to be precise, and I say over the last year, the truth is I've been trying unsuccessfully to lose weight for 3 years. Well, in fact, probably since forever. But given that most of us want to be somewhat lighter than we are, I thought I'd share my experiences with you today. They may be of some use. I haven't got any before or after photos to share, which is probably all for the best. So let's start with a bit of background. I don't like going to the gym, but I do quite a lot of exercise. I always have. I run, I play football. I used to walk the dog before he sadly passed away. But I always seem to be about 5 or 6 kilos, a stone, heavier than is ideal. There's lots of planes flying over today, so sorry about that. I have a sweet tooth, not as sweet as some, but a sweet tooth. I like beer and I like wine. Not much of a spirit man. I do like a gin and tonic. But I do have a tendency to eat and drink late at night, particularly coming home after gigs. And I suspect it was a combination of eating too late at night and booze, which left me in that semi-permanent state of slightly heavier than I would like. I've tried all sorts of diets in the past. I lost loads of weight on the Atkins diet back in the noughties, early noughties. That's basically low carb, high protein. But I also felt fatigued and weak, and as soon as I stopped doing it, I put all the weight back on again, and more. I also lost loads of weight on the 5-2 diet in the early 2010s. Again, as soon as I stopped fasting, I put it all back on again. And I'd also piss off my partner on fasting days by not participating in the communal activity that is eating. After seeing Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, that's a film, Google it, it's very good, 5 or 6 years ago, I did the juice diet and I lost more weight more quickly than with any other diet I've ever done. You can lose as much as a kilo, 2 pounds a day. Very hard to sustain though, and your kitchen quickly gets swamped with loads of juice vegetable remains and then flies in the summer. Again, a few months after stopping, I was back where I was weight-wise, and some. And then between 2020 and 2021, I took up the 16-8 diet, which is where you fast 16 hours a day and eat only in an 8-hour window. And so I'd have my first meal at lunchtime, 12 or 1 o'clock, and then try not to eat or drink anything after 8 or 9. But however, it's very hard when you're doing gigs, and I often found myself breaking the rules. I lost a couple of kilos at first and then it sort of plateaued. It meant, though, that I got into that sort of fasting state every day and I got used to that feeling of being hungry. It became normal. And then I actually started putting on weight. And I think it's because my body got used to fasting. So it did all the things, you know, conserving energy, conserving calories, and then I'd consume too many calories in the evening, and the result would be, you know, close to bedtime. And so in this state of efficiency in fasting, the body conserved more calories than it otherwise would have, and I ended up putting on weight. So I was fat. In September 2021, just over a year ago, I was the wrong side of 90 kilos, over 14 stone, 200 pounds, which is too much for a man of my 5'9" frame, 1 metre 75, I think. And so I needed a change of strategy. 16-8 wasn't working, but I was convinced of the efficacy of fasting. So I went back to 5'2". And within a couple of weeks, I lost about 3 or 4 kilos, half a stone, but then I plateaued for months, just couldn't seem to shake anything off, and there was still probably too much of the eating and drinking in the mid to late evenings, especially after gigs, and that was happening on non-fasting days. I was presenting headliners on GB News at the time, and I'd get home at 1 a.m. I wouldn't want to go to bed. I'd crack open a bottle of red wine and then So to avoid doing that, I took up fasting on the days I was presenting headliners. Now, on fasting days, it's best to go to bed early. Presenting a TV show at 11 p.m, having not eaten all day, meant I was almost falling asleep as it was ended. I was so tired, it wasn't ideal. Anyway, I left headliners in March or April, I can't remember exactly when it was, and it was after that that the big weight loss suddenly accelerated. And in my new, less employed state, I had a bit more time on my hands. I took up playing tennis 2 or 3 times a week with a guy I met on Facebook. I had fewer late night gigs, so less late night calorie consumption. I then got involved in this swimming challenge, so I started training for that. And I also continued playing football once a week, once a fortnight. And it was the combination of increased activity and fasting on the same day that made the weight fall off. And I kind of got lucky, I got caught in this virtuous loop. And as I started to feel fitter on my way to tennis, I'd cycle up a really steep hill nearby. I'd do it 4 or 5 times up the hill, get some HIIT, high intensity training. And on non-fasting days, I found myself consuming less anyway. I'd skip meals, especially breakfast. So I was doing a sort of mild version of the 16-8 as well. And the England cycling coach, the former England cycling coach, Philip Brailsford, he used to talk about the aggregation of marginal gains. And so it is with dieting. There are so many little small things you can do, but it's only when you put them together that the big changes occur. And the same happens in reverse. There's lots of little things you can do that make you put on weight, and you do them all together, you get really fat really quickly. Anyway, so here in bullet points is the Dominic Frisby diet. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is indoctrinate yourself. And I'd say it's almost the most important part. Find a diet that works for you. A lot of people swear by protein diets, for example. I find them too hard to practically sustain. I like fasting. It works, it's proven to work. It's simple. You're either on or you're off. And, 2 days a week, I can put that amount of effort in for 2 days a week. I can't do it for the whole week, so it's sustainable. But whichever diet you choose, indoctrinate yourself. Read books, read blogs, watch videos, listen to podcasts, talk on chat boards. Totally brainwash yourself about the efficacy of the diet. You have to believe in it in order to carry it out. By the way, 5-2 works. And I'm sure that's why many people on diets witter on about them so much, by the way. They've indoctrinated themselves. You have to turn it into a religion. 5-2 works, by the way, if I didn't already mention that. 2 days a week, you consume no more than 500 calories, 600 calories if you're a man, and the rest of the time, you can pretty much do what you like. It's very sustainable. Bullet point 2, habits, habits, habits. Fasting is hard at first, but once you turn it into a habit, you barely notice it. But certain things help. Drink plenty of liquid. It's amazing how often when you think you're hungry, you're actually just thirsty. Fill up on water. Hot drinks are especially filling. Tea, herbal tea, coffee, broth, soups are a good food to eat on fasting days to fill you up, not many calories. Cider vinegar. It's a really good appetite suppressant. Dessert spoonful of cider vinegar in a glass of water when you drink a glass of water in the morning, and you won't be hungry till lunchtime. Coconut oil does a similar trick. Teaspoonful of coconut oil in some hot water or some herbal tea fills you up. Lots of exercise. Take lots of exercise, especially on fasting days. And if you turn all of these into habits, then they just become normal and they don't require effort. You just do them. Number 3, commit to sport. Exercise is really easy to avoid if you do it by yourself. But if, for example, you have a regular tennis partner or a football team or something like that, then suddenly you have an obligation to go and play even if you don't feel like it and it's cold outside. So commit to some kind of sporting challenge, something you have to train for. It might be a cycling challenge, a climbing a mountain, a walking challenge, swimming a lake, doing a marathon, a walking club. Just create obligations for yourself, and then you have to take exercise even if you don't fancy it. Try and cheat in incidental exercise wherever possible. You know, walk instead of getting the bus, get off a tube station early, walk instead of driving, cycle to work, cycle to meetings if you can. Cycling, by the way, is a really good sport, particularly for the over 50s. You burn loads of calories because you're using your legs, especially your thighs, and they're the biggest muscle group, but you don't suffer the joint pain that comes with running. So take up cycling and get into cycling up hills. You'll be amazed at how good cycling up hills can make you feel. It doesn't sound like it should, but it's amazing. Running's great for weight loss as well. And if at the end of your run you do 4 30-second sprints, ideally up a hill, that's really good. High intensity training hit, that's even better. Swimming's good. You don't burn that many calories swimming, but it's great for building muscle. You feel fantastic afterwards. And for example, I find it hard to run 2 days in a row. My joints ache too much, but you can run one day, swim the next quite easily. I bought some scales and a fitness watch, and I'm forever looking at the stats. They're good because they keep you motivated, they keep reminding you to improve. And the best time to weigh yourself, by the way, is first thing in the morning, after you wake up, because that's have a pee, then weigh yourself. That's the only way to get a consistent measure. But even then, it's amazing how much your weight fluctuates in the course of a week. Bullet point 4, avoid stuff that's bad for you. Now, there are 2 big evils here. The first is booze. Now, I love beer, I love wine, but alcohol is bad for you. And the less you drink, the better. Drinking makes you put on weight. There are loads of calories in drink. But never mind the many calories in wine and beer. It's the poor decisions that follow. And they usually involve food and more booze. But not drinking is hard. Alcohol's addictive. If you want to give up booze altogether, read Kick the Drink Easily by Jason Vale. But the beauty of 5.2 is that it stops you drinking at least on fasting days, unless you get your 600 calories from booze. So that's booze. The other big evil is seed oils. I've been really persuaded by the anti-seed oil arguments. Why is it that people are so much fatter today than we were in the 1960s or 70s? What's been the big change in diets? I don't believe we're that much greedier than we were 40 or 50 or 60 years ago. There must be another explanation. And the answer lies in food processing, and especially seed oils. Rapeseed oil, canola oil, palm oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, vegetable oil, margarine. You can drive a car on those things. The body cannot break them down, and that's why they're so good at preserving food life. But the big change in our diets is not so much sugar or carbohydrate, it's these refined fats, and they are very difficult to avoid because they are in everything, from bread to anything that's pre-packaged. And the food industry and those who regulate it, by the way, have a lot to answer for. Anyway, cut down on seed oils as much as you can. Fried fast food, fish and chips, McDonald's, KFC, fried chicken, it is killer. And a lot of that heavily processed vegan plant food is bad for you too. So cook for yourself, don't eat pre-prepared stuff. It's full of all those refined oils, all that microwave stuff. And cook with ingredients in as natural state as possible. Meat, fish, veg, cooked in butter and olive oil. Generally speaking, up the protein intake and lower the carb intake. And one more thing, nuts. I used to eat lots of nuts and raisins. I love them. I have them with yogurt and honey. And I thought nuts were good for you, but I saw a video somewhere with a dude who was arguing that bears eat loads of nuts when they're trying to fatten up for the winter and their hibernation. And we can read from that nuts are very fattening. So I cut nuts out, and that was almost exactly the time that my weight loss suddenly accelerated. Might have been coincidence, but I thought I should mention it. Gosh, it's noisy today. Police today. So there we are. Dietary advice from someone who has no qualifications whatsoever. save having lived it. And the more of these things you do, and the more you turn into habits so that they don't require willpower, the more the rules of compounding and incremental gains, the more they work in your favour. It's hard, but when you're sufficiently indoctrinated and the habits are entrenched, it all suddenly gets easy. I keep saying it, the big results come from fasting and exercising on the same day. Now comes the hard bit, which is keeping the weight off. But good luck anyway, if it's something you're trying to do. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. I hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to my Substack, and I will be back with another video very soon. Until then, goodbye.